How to own Berkshire Hathaway without actually owning Berkshire Hathaway. So I did a video on this earlier today. It was looking at growth stocks versus value stocks. And this was amazing to me, actually. And I think there's a lot of opportunity here. So what happens is, I got to, okay. So Berkshire Hathaway, its number one holding by far is Apple. All right? So you hear me so far? Now, the number one holding as of the end of 2019 is probably between 1 and 2 right now of the Vanguard Value ETF is Berkshire Hathaway. All right, the irony of this is Apple is considered a growth stock. The Vanguard Value ETF is considered a value holding of value stocks. The Vanguard Value ETF, its number one holding is Berkshire Hathaway, whose number one holding is Apple, which is a growth stock. So here's what's crazy. Vanguard, about 5% of its portfolio is Berkshire Hathaway. It's got billions of dollars. I think it was, what did we say, $3 billion in that stock of Berkshire Hathaway. 43% of Berkshire Hathaway is Apple stock. So what's 0.05 times 0.43, whatever that is, was that 2%. So essentially 2% of Vanguard Value is Apple stock. Does that make any sense? And yet still considered a value. That's where the whole thing about value versus growth gets a little bit weird when you start looking at ETFs and index funds and stuff. And even just, is Apple a value or is it a growth stock? I mean, who knows? I just find that interesting. So you can actually own Berkshire Hathaway and Apple just by owning VTV. Even though Apple is considered growth, Berkshire Hathaway is considered value. It's the weirdest thing. But just go. The interesting thing is too is that over the last, I think it's 5 years or so, if you had growth, the VUG, which is the Vanguard Growth Index, you had 100,000 Vanguard Growth that's worth, I think it's 450,000 now after 5 years, or is it 10? I think it's 5. If you had 100,000 Vanguard Value Index, it's worth like 200 something. So you would have made 200,000 more over the last 5 years in growth than you would have in value. Like I think what I say, a 59% increase in value, in growth over value. Which is interesting because Berkshire Hathaway presumably has been in the Vanguard Value Fund ETF, and presumably Apple has been in there too. So I don't know what to make of all that. That doesn't make sense to me. How is the value index fund, of which 2% of it's in Apple, presumably, getting crushed relative to growth, of which Apple is one of the top 5 on the growth index? I don't understand. Now, the only reason I can say it is because Apple is 2%, Johnson & Johnson is probably 5%, Berkshire, is the other 3%, and whatever, they got ExxonMobil and whatnot. Whereas the growth, it has Amazon, Facebook, all that stuff. So that would be the reason for that. The 5 stocks that have actually propelled the S&P 500 are essentially the FANGs: Facebook, Apple, well, I guess the FANGs, Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, Netflix, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. Okay, so Facebook, Apple, yeah, there you go. Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, and Netflix. It used to be called a FANG. Facebook, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. But be that as it may. So that's interesting. That's, again, just why you just buy the index, be done with it, because you just don't know, man. I mean, literally, if you did not have exposure to some of those stocks right there, your portfolio is sucking wind. Now, will that come back around? I got no idea. Someone asked me yesterday what I think if a blue wave takes over. You could easily say that would hurt stocks such as ExxonMobil and whatnot, simply because they're natural resources stocks, energy stocks. You could say it hurt mining stocks. I don't know. I mean, that would make sense. until it doesn't. So I just buy the index. I'm done with it. But I thought you'd find that of interest. All right, we'll see you.